agents joining us. Either way, it's going to be really good. We are jumping into the organizational model today, and then I have a bonus for everybody. Yay! Nobody seems as excited as I am about the bonus material.
The question is it food?
Okay. Maybe. Should we start a bidding war on this apple? I hear they're really popular these days. Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen. Should I be able to get the right screen up? There we go. All right. Okay, are you guys seeing the slides, the models of a millionaire real estate agent slides? Sweet. Okay. Here we go. The last of the 4-part series, Models of a Millionaire Real Estate Agent. We are diving in today. You will not actually need your paper, pen, or calculator today, but you may want them for the homework. As always, you'll want your MREA book. Mine's hiding under some papers here. You'll want your MREA book. You can flag some of these pages as we come across them. And we are diving into, as I said, the organizational model, which is one of the larger and more involved areas, and it even bleeds over really into the leverage chapter of the MREA. Remember that triangle: leads, listing, and leverage. And so the organizational models kind of bleed into the leverage models as well. But we're going to dive into those. Obviously, if you're building a real estate business, and you're going to get past the first level of business, which is being in business by yourself, then you're thinking big, right? You're aiming high and you're acting bold, and having the opportunity to live large. So that's where we're really going to dive in today. The organizational model is really the model that I think requires you to think big, right? Because as an individual agent, your vision, your big thinking only has to be big enough for you to live inside of it, right? Your vision only has to be big enough for you to achieve what you want to achieve. But when we start growing our business and it requires success through others, right? Then we have to really dive into these organizational models, and that requires bringing other people into our world. And when we're bringing other people into our world, we have to think bigger. We can no longer think about having a world that only houses our own vision. We have to make sure our vision, our big thinking is big enough that someone inside of our organization's big thinking can live inside of ours, right? And so that's the real impact of thinking big inside of the organizational model. Obviously, this is the place, I will tell you, in real estate agent businesses, this is the place where I see that inverse triangle most often. Real estate businesses tend to grow organically in all of the wrong ways, unless we're really purposeful about how we're growing them. Right? I've seen it happen all different ways, but the most common 2 scenarios of growth in a real estate business that create an inverse model there, creativity over the model, is, oh, this is my buddy, fellow real estate agent. They're also a great real estate agent, and don't want to be lonely real estate agents anymore. So we're going to team up and we're going to do business together. Yay, we're going to form a partnership that isn't based on any of these models. It's incredibly uncommon for that partnership to be successful. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But one of the biggest ones is you're starting with creativity. You're starting organically and saying, well, this is what feels right for us, as opposed to this is what successful people have done before us. Right. The other thing that I see, the other way that agents tend to grow organically is, oh man, I am so busy. I couldn't possibly show another house right now. I'm going to go hire a buyer's agent. They're going to show all my houses for me. It's going to be totally fine. And we're just going to start there. Or my friend just got their real estate license and she's going to come work under me and be my buyer's agent. Right. It happens a few different ways. But we start with that creativity, and that creativity is disguised as a solution to our problem, right? We're in pain. We are feeling some pain in our business, and we grab the quickest, fastest solution to solve that pain. But oftentimes that is out of model, and the result of that is we don't have a stable foundation. Right. And we're gonna look into some of the pitfalls in those areas and how to avoid those as we go through today. Same thing, right? When we look at this model of E to P, right, breaking through ceilings, when you're building your organizational model, you're probably going to feel this one more fiercely than all of the others. Growing through others requires a great deal of patience, of leadership, of communication, of slowing down and walking alongside someone. And those are things that naturally top producing real estate agents kind of don't always have, right? We're salespeople, we're really driven, we move with a high sense of urgency and a high level of responsiveness, and we're going to run really fast, and we want people to keep up with us. That's what's made us successful in business. And so there can be a lot of purposefulness that goes into growing your business through others, right? And it's something that you really want to go into it strategically and working with models, right? Instead of putting creativity first and growing organically. So here we are at the end of the road, right? The organizational model, when and who to hire. And then we're going to dive into some bonus material today. But we circle back to this idea that all of these models are synergistic. They all rely on one another. And so through the course of today, as we learn about the organizational models, everything we learn about requires some tweaks to the economic model, the lead generation model, and the budget model. They're all going to make changes in those models. And all of those models are going to require changes to your organizational model to fulfill those goals. So they're completely interdependent, and you can't grow in one of those models without having to grow in all of them. And it almost doesn't matter which part of the circle you start in. I mean, it's labeled with the economic model being number 1, lead generation 2, 3, and 4, so on and so forth. But really, if you started with a focus with your economic model or your organizational model in mind, you could then dive into any of these other models in really any order and have that impact, and vice versa, right? If I looked at my organizational model, I could then identify, okay, based on my organizational model, here's what I think my cost of sale and my expenses would be. And if that continues to be true, here's the economic model that supports that. And this is the lead generation that has to happen to support that economic model. And so they really have that very synergistic effect on one another. So what we're going to tackle today, when doing all you can do, hire administrative help, we're going to talk about hiring talent and training and consulting with your team and some models to do that. So here we go. This is a perfect time to pull out your book and start flagging some pages. the three key areas, right? When doing all you can do, hire administrative help. This is in page 159, which is in organizational model, the first organizational model section. So 159. Gary says of leverage, right? If you don't have it, you are it, right? If you don't have a dishwasher, you are the dishwasher. If you don't have a landscaper, you are the landscaper. If you don't have an administrative assistant, you are the administrative assistant. And so when doing, that's why this says, when doing all you can do, it doesn't say go hire a buyer's agent so they can take over showing properties for you, right? Because then you're still the administrative assistant, but congratulations, you've now graduated to become the administrative assistant for 2 agents instead of 1, right? So what time did you really save yourself by building with an agent first? Start with administrative help. The highest and best use of your time as a real estate agent and your highest dollar per hour activities will always be in the 5 jobs of a real estate agent, right? Which is to lead generate, to script practice and role play, to go on appointments, to negotiate contracts, right? Those are going to be the key areas for you to focus on. And quite honestly, sending out a postcard isn't one of them, right? Making sure that your paperwork gets turned in after closing isn't one of them. Pulling your list from your CRM isn't one of them, right? Those are administrative functions that can happen outside of that in your business. So there's a quote that I highlighted just for this in this section. It says, and it's around systems in your business, right? Here's the deal. When we are running along in our busy real estate businesses, it tends to be a mess when we're working as a solopreneur. When we're an individual agent, it tends to be a mess. And our gut instinct tells us we've got to clean things up. We've got to put things in order so that we can have somebody come in and maintain it. Gary says that while traditional thinking would have you put systems in place to push you further along, we've discovered a problem with that thinking. Designing and implementing systems takes more time than you think and very specific skills. Most real estate agents, I'm going to summarize this last part, most real estate agents don't have those skills. And so you end up turning on a wheel of just not being able to get yourself further ahead. And running in a very entrepreneurial business, right? So being able to hire administrative help once you've hit max capacity will allow that person to in turn put those systems in place for you and help increase your capacity, right? Hire talent. This is page 161. It doesn't say hire anyone. It doesn't say hire your sister because she needs a job. It doesn't say hire the first applicant, right? It doesn't say hire the person who screams the loudest or wants it the most. It says hire talent. Talent is somebody who is both a good fit for the role and has a track record of performance, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be in that role. There's different levels of talent, and we're going to take a look at that too. But on page 161, there's a guide that helps you identify talent. And this guide shows up in a fair amount of Keller Williams course curriculum as well, particularly in the career visioning course. So I would highly recommend that if growing your business is anywhere on your radar today, tomorrow, or 5 years from now, that you attend career visioning now this year. It'll be offered in the fall. So keep an eye out on the training calendar for dates on that. It will likely be a digital delivery. And because it's going to be offered in the fall, it may also have an in-person component. So fingers crossed, we'll keep you guys posted on that. But career visioning is kind of the organizational model how-to class, right? So it's how to grow your business through hiring talent. And here's what it says. It says, talent pushes you to get answers. right? Talent shares your goals and fulfills your needs as a natural byproduct of them fulfilling their own. Talent knows what it wants and is actively searching to know. Talent pushes you, right? And talent is continually raising the bar. So when you hire someone talented into your organization, they're naturally going to help make it better instead of suck your time into pushing them along, right? So that's the benefit of hiring talent. There's a really fun bonus exercise that you can do on page 163 if you're thinking about bringing someone into your business. It's the cost of a bad hire and the opportunity of a great hire. And so I'll share with you some experience that I've had in the cost of a bad hire before. Once upon a time in a market center far, far away from all of you guys, there was a leader who hired a director of first impressions who just happened to be this leader's friend. This director of first impressions turns out wasn't directing a very good first impression. Right? So if we go into depth into the cost of what that hire was, well, we had to hire that person, we had to train them, right? It took us a few months to get them up and running and really knowing their job and becoming proficient at this. And you guys can attest to this because some of you are in that boat, right? You're in that long journey to becoming proficient in it. Well, there's an actual cost to spending time with somebody to bring them up, to create proficiency inside of what they're doing. And then when you allow that person to have access to to your clients or to your reputation or to your business, there can be an additional cost in not having the right person in that role, such as lost business opportunities, a depleted reputation. What if they're delivering poor customer service? And so, I share this story. Hi, I'm the leader that hired her friend. Right. And this friend cost us some agents at the market center because they did a pretty poor job of delivering a high level of customer service. They were much more concerned about themselves in customer service situations and being right as opposed to being a solution. At any rate, when we go all the way through the cost of that hire, had I hired talent, slowed down, and actually followed a process, right, I would be looking at the opportunity of a great hire, somebody who is not only allowing me to have fuller capacity inside of our organization, but somebody who is also delivering increased value, right? The flip side of that director of first impressions, who fortunately was quite short-lived with our organization, the flip side of that would be somebody who cares deeply about our agents, somebody who's answering phone calls, creating solutions, right? Somebody who's delivering an exceptional level of customer service, somebody who agents are joining our office as a result of and not leaving our office as a result of, right? So if we compare the cost of that in your business, what if you were to hire a transaction coordinator that wasn't very good at dates and deadlines? Right? But they were your friend and they really needed a job and they thought they could do it. Well, what then becomes the cost of that into your business, right? Vice versa. Let's say you do your due diligence and you find a transaction coordinator who's phenomenal inside of your business and is not only going to keep track of those dates and deadlines, but deliver such phenomenal customer service that you actually get more repeat and referral business as a result of that. What is that opportunity cost there? So tag that page as you're looking at bringing someone into your organization. Walk through those exercises. That's page 163. The cost of a bad hire and the opportunity of a great hire. At the very least, hopefully it will help you slow down and actually make a great hire because you'll see very tangibly what the difference in results are. train and consult with your staff. So when you hire someone into your organization, it's not enough to just say, here's the keys to the castle, go run the ship, right? It really then becomes your one of the hats you need to wear to help them develop inside of their role. And there's a great model for that in the consultative interview on page 167, right? Some simple questions, right? What was your goal? What was your agenda? Right? What were you looking to achieve? How did you do with that? How do you feel about it? And as a result of that, what will you change? And what will get in your way? Right? And that core conversation can help you through just about any type of coaching or consultation, regardless of what type of role they play in your business. Right? So there's a great model for that, to train and consult with your staff. You'll notice that training and consulting with your staff, and the model is that this is really, really regular, depending on on who they directly report to. And if they directly report to you, that this training and consultation continues on even once they're trained, right? You continue to consult them into greater growth inside of their career, inside of to gain more results inside of your business, to help them with their achievement in their role, right? So who do we hire? What does that look like, right? This is, I'm going to just call it the end result, even though it's not. This is the placeholder for what the seventh level can look like, which really means that you've grown a business you no longer have to be a part of. But we're going to walk through every step along the way today inside of this. So let's start with level 1. And this is where the vast majority of real estate agents are going to start out in their career. Okay. Level 1 is the solopreneur. It is just you, and you are responsible for all of your personal productivity. You're responsible for the lead generation. You're responsible for buyer and seller presentations. You're responsible for writing all the contracts, for showing all the offers, for coordinating all of the sales, for managing your money. You're also responsible for your mindset and vision, right? That's the first piece agents should have leverage with, is their mindset and vision. And usually that's through an accountability relationship or a coaching relationship, to have leverage with your mindset and business. Now, obviously, we have our productivity coaching program when agents get started in the business to help leverage that mindset and vision right out of the gate and help them put the systems in place in their business. But it's very important to make sure that you have a partner on the mindset and vision piece as you go through your career, whether it's as an individual agent or as you're growing your team. And remember, when you're doing all you can do, hire administrative support first. So when this agent hits, the numbers are kind of shaky on this, right? Strictly speaking, when this agent hits 36 units a year or 3 closings a month, they're ready to hire administrative support. Now, our average sales price is quite a bit higher, and right now, it is quite labor intensive to work with a buyer, right? So if we factor those things in, your personal threshold may look different on when you're ready to hire support, right? When you're ready to hire your first administrative person. But here's what it looks like. You're going to hire an administrative assistant, right? That's the first hire, is an admin. You, at that point, need to learn about the hiring process, right? That's the career visioning class. How do you actually do this? How do you find them, right? How are you going to train them? What does that look like? How do you help hold them accountable to their role? So you've grown in your business at this point from being a salesperson who's only concerned about working with buyers and sellers. You now have a third client, right? You have a third area of attention in your business, and that's your employee. That's the administrator in your business. Now, here's the deal. Depending on where you're at and what your needs are, this administrative person is going to be full-time. They're going to They're going to take over all of your administrative pieces, all of your marketing, all of your transaction coordination. Now, there are some variations in this where you can kind of tiptoe into it part-time. You can get transaction coordinators who work, you know, on a contract basis before you step into this full-time hire, right, for your organization. But this is where the buck stops, right? Until you've hired this full-time administrative assistant in your business, you really shouldn't move any further in hiring people into your organization. Because remember, if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. And if you don't have enough administrative support and you hire an agent in, then that administrative support is going to roll right back onto you. So you've got to make sure that you're fully formed in this second level before you move on. And when you move on, you're going to add another administrative assistant, right? The model will tell you that this first admin hire, if you hire them at 36 transactions, this person should bring you an additional 12 to 24 units, right? So that takes you up to upwards of 60 units a year with this one administrative assistant, right? You're going on all the listing appointments, you're doing all of the lead generation, you're doing all of the showings. They are doing all of the marketing, all of the transaction coordination, all of those pieces. But at 60 units a year, that's a big job for that administrative assistant. That's why you bring in admin number 2. Admin number 2 should be focused on transaction coordination and listing management, right? They're dealing with all of the contractual pieces and moving parts. Your lead admin is still operating the business. They're running your lead generation, they're running your marketing services, and they're overseeing the transaction coordinator. Okay, so here's where you really have to start thinking about systems in your business. And remember, you're not the one putting those systems into place, your lead admin is. And with the addition of this transaction coordinator, they will likely have the bandwidth to start building, documenting systems inside of your organization. They've also done that transaction coordinator's job before, so they know exactly what it should look like. Because remember, before you hired the TC, your admin was the TC, right? In this, you'll also need to master the skill of succeeding through others. You'll see the chain of command here on the right of the screen. That transaction coordinator isn't coming directly off of you, which means they don't report directly to you. They report directly to that lead admin, and that lead admin reports to you, right? And so it's really important inside of that kind of chain of command to make sure that you're honoring that and you're allowing your lead admin the opportunity to actually lead and direct the transaction coordinator, and you're not going around them, right, to succeed through others or taking your job back, right, because it's not being done fast enough or correct enough or any of the enoughs, right? Let them own that area of responsibility so that they can learn how to do it, you know, not only as well as you would, but probably better, right? Okay. So that's level 3. At level 3, right, if you started out at 48 to 60 units, right, you should be able to add another 12 to 24 units here, right? So that's putting you 60 to 84 units at level 3. That's you and 2 admins. Now, 84 units, and you are working with all of those sellers and all of those buyers. 84 units means if you're working, you know, 40 plus weeks a year, and you probably are, you're out with 2 new sets of buyers every single week. Whew. Right? Most agents will only get to this level because they want to go to the next one. They want to hire a a buyer's agent, or a showing assistant that turns into a buyer's agent, right? Because your bandwidth at this point has far exceeded what you can actually accomplish. And then what's going to end up happening is your customer service ends up failing a little bit. Your lead generation ends up falling off, and you may peak at 60 to 84 units, but you'd end up falling backwards over time unless you bring in someone who can help sustain that high level of production. And so how would you sustain it? In part one, you'd sustain that high level of production by bringing somebody on the lead generation side to help you manage that piece, and bringing someone in on the buyer side to help you manage that piece. So the first move there is that lead manager on the lead generation side and the showing assistant on the buyer side. Notice you have your two admin here to be able to support everything. By this point, your administrative team will have put systems in place. They will have a documented operating manual for your business. They're going to be really sufficient inside of their role and experts inside of what they do. So their bandwidth is going to increase, which means they're going to be able to help support the lead manager in all of the lead operation. Because remember, the lead admin before was supporting the lead generation of you, the sole agent. Now the lead generation is going over to the lead manager, right? And they're managing that lead flow, making phone calls, setting appointments, doing those pieces. You're still working with every single buyer and every single seller. You're just not showing property anymore because you have that showing assistant, right? Which can graduate you into part 2 of level 4, right? Which is where your lead manager actually has an ISA or an OSA. They have somebody on the phone with them supporting the lead generation activities of your business. And if they're doing that, they're probably setting more appointments than you yourself can hold. And so you'll need to build out the buyer side of your business by bringing in an agent who works specifically with buyers. Now, variations on this actually have a lead buyer's agent or multiple buyer's agents here instead of a buyer's agent and showing assistants. Okay. However, this lead buyer's agent in this model, lead buyer's agent would be working directly with the buyers, every single buyer, negotiating contracts. But the showing assistants would be doing the showings and going on the inspections. Okay, so there's some there's a little bit of variation based on what's happening in your world on how that happens. But inside of this, you've got more leads coming in, you've got more agents to support, so you're doing more business. At this point, you're going to need more administrative support. Your lead admin's still running the show, but that transaction coordination role needs to split off. So there's going to be a transaction coordinator who's strictly working with what happens when you go under contract, and then a listing manager who's working on the marketing and coordination of all of the moving parts inside of your listings, right? Which, because you're not working with buyers anymore, you're taking all of the listings. And because you freed up your time not working with any of the buyers, you can do a lot more listings. So if you look at level 4, part 2, right, back to level 3, your business should be doubled at level 4, part 2. Like whatever that was at level 3, you should have doubled your business because you now have twice as many agents. Okay. Here's where it starts to get fun. At level 5, not much happens here, right? At level 5, you start to grow your business. If you're going to make it to level 5, right, it's because you want to eventually go to level 7. So you're grooming somebody to take over. That's what starts happening at level 5. Your administrative assistant turns into a director of operations, and they start running a lot of the show, right? And you may even be able to, at that point, either step out of taking listings for your team or bring in another listing agent. Okay, so you have some help on the listing side of your business. The only reason to go to level 5 is because you want to eventually go to level 7, right? It's because you eventually want to be able to grow your business to the point where you probably don't have to be involved with it anymore. So here's level 6. Level 6 looks a lot like level 5, except for you've started really compartmentalizing what's happening inside of your world, and you're adding additional leadership inside of your organization. That leadership can create a really cohesive hub locally, which allows you the ability to start at this point expanding your business to other locations through expansion. And so you end up with a director of sales. This director of sales is overseeing the sales arm of your business. They now report directly to you, and the agents report directly to them, right? Your director of operations is overseeing the overall operations of your business, and your director of lead generation overseeing that. So now you no longer have individuals reporting to you, and you have the opportunity to start expanding. That expansion agent is going to utilize all of the systems in this world you've created. They just happen to be in a different geographic location, right? Part 2 is where your expansion starts to grow, right? You're no longer in just 1 or 2 or 3 locations, but you start expanding in more and more locations. So just like you have a director of sales who all of your salespeople are reporting to, and a director of ops that all of your operations people are reporting to, you then get a director of expansion where all of your expansion partners are reporting to. And so that's where that piece grows. Now, this can look exactly the same without expansion if that's not a way that you choose to go. When you get to the 7th level, right, it's a whole nother ball game. What you're really looking at the 7th level is replacing yourself inside of the organization. You then become responsible for casting or supporting the vision of the organization, and growth and standards, right? So you can at this point replace yourself with a CEO or someone of that realm. That CEO was likely one of your directors. Okay, they were maybe your director of sales or your director of operations, and now they're stepping up to oversee the entire business. And everyone who used to report to you now reports to that CEO, and that CEO reports to you. Right now, at this stage in the game, you have a lot of opportunity with leveraged time here to reinvest that time in ancillary businesses in other areas of interest, right? A really great example of the 7th level real estate business you here would be our very own OP, Jake Ginger, right? He has grown his business to the point where the leaders of his organization report directly to him, and everyone else in his organization works for those leaders, right? So that's Keith and Roxanne who are in this role, and then everybody else reports to them, right? So inside of this, it could include more expansion businesses if that's where your organization is going to go. And just think of all of these little circles as placeholders or departments. They don't all necessarily represent people. You may have a series of transaction coordinators based on what's going on in your business. You may have 3 or 4 TCs. You may have 6 or 7 buyer's agents. You may have a couple of different ISAs or OSAs, right? These are just placeholders for the people in your business, not necessarily a representation of how many of those people you should have. So before we move on from the fun organizational charts that fall into the organizational model, and you can find the organizational charts in chapter 14, they start on 196, 197. In your MREA. The 7th level model is in there. It looks a little different. These are more updated versions based on our current trends, but they don't vary too much from what you'll find inside of your MREA book. And all of those levels are spelled out there on page 202. So if you want to take a look at those, any questions on organizational charts before we move on? Awesome, guys. Here's today's homework, right? And I mentioned this last week, but this week it's actually your homework, right? Go to kellerink.com. You'll go to the MREA and check out the downloads, and there's an Excel spreadsheet of the 192 tasks a real estate agent does. I want you to make this your own. I want you to look at all of the tasks on the side and identify what that is in your business and what you call it, right? Don't delete any of them. If there's something on that list that you're not doing in your business, maybe you need to consider how it needs to happen in your world. But make them relevant, right? Name them in such a way where you can relate to what that is in your business. And I really want you to take a look at what really all is on your plate right now. And as you're growing, what does that look like? And to the market setter leaders who are on, this is a great way to become familiar with all of the different things a real estate agent does. So definitely download that, take a look through it, and it actually identifies at each level who does what is each person's responsibility. Okay, here we go. Are you guys ready for the bonus round? Got some extra content for you, and it's all about you. So this is probably the best, most relatable section in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And because it's at the very back, people don't often get to it. So this is the You chapter, and it starts on 253. Okay, so we're going to dive into You. And this isn't from the You chapter. This is page 244, so just slightly before it. But I wanted to bring this up. When you hire that first admin and you start documenting your systems, there is an actual guide to what this looks like. There's a cheat sheet for you. There is an instruction guide to creating your own operations manual in the MREA on page 244. Incredibly valuable, has a super easy to follow system for you to be able to create these systems, or better yet, for you to have your administrative support create those systems inside of your business so that you have your own operations manual. So definitely something to check out. But 5 simple steps to You inside of your business, and we're going to touch on all of these, right? Create a personal plan, make process your focus. Time block to keep your focus. Get accountability to keep your focus. Make sure your environment supports your focus, and keep your energy. So 255, it walks you through this goal to action, right? Like, what is your top 20%? How do you actually identify this, and how do you organize it in such a way where what you need to do gets done, right? So on 255, you're going to see these pieces, right? So there's a really simple kind of process in going through this system, right? You can try and do everything, or just randomly put things in a to-do list and do them in the order in which they appear, but then you're not necessarily doing the right things inside of your business, right? So the key to this is going through, identifying what are the top things you need to do each day. What are your top 20% things? And those go in your calendar as appointments. Okay, so what are the key things that support your business? Those should be things that fall into those 5 jobs of the real estate agent, right? So you are going on appointments, you're negotiating contracts, you are lead generating, you are following up, and you are script practicing and role playing. Those are the key pieces to your business, right? And if it doesn't fall inside of those key jobs, then it's just a to-do, right? It doesn't need to go on the calendar. The calendar is for important events that absolutely have to happen. Okay, so I'm going to take those 20% items and add them to my calendar. after I've completed those for the day, I can get to my to-do list, right? I can definitely knock off some of those items. And then there's a great example of the his one page daily planner in here, and you can download that from Keller Inc. as well. So that's on page 258. You can see his daily worksheet, right? And so it gives you an opportunity to identify your top 20% tasks and then what's on your to-do list for the day as well. So another great download there. But once you've put that in your calendar, right? You've set those appointments, you've identified what's important. Your calendar should represent a counterbalance in your life, right? On 259, Gary talks about this and goes into a lot more depth and detail and what this looks like in The One Thing. So if you haven't read The One Thing, there's so many great productivity tips inside of The One Thing, and it's all about becoming more productive. But a balanced life is a myth, right? We don't go through life completely balanced, where we're spending the same amount of time in the same areas of focus all the time, because life is incredibly fluid and things are going to come up. And there are seasons, there are times, there are moments where our focus has to be weighted more heavily in one direction or the other. And the trick to that is counterbalancing that. Right? If I'm in a season where work needs to have more of my focus than my home life does, then how do I balance that back? How do I get myself in such a place that I can compensate for that home life at another time, right? You know, where I'm going all in here and then I'm going all in here. Or do I have more daily counterbalances, right? But recognize that there's some give and take inside of this, and that that there's a real art to being able to have success in multiple areas of life at one time. And so I'd highly advise you to dig into The One Thing for more on that topic. But here's what we've done, right? We've identified our priorities in work. We've identified how and when we're going to counterbalance. And then we're going to be blocking our time out to be working in our business versus on our business. We're going to identify that top 20% of activities that need to be done, and we're going to be calendaring them into blocks of time that allow us to get those things done. As we wrap up here, I'll share with you some examples of what that time blocking could look like, and we can take a look at my calendar. But here's the key: if you erase, you must replace, right? Which, if you're working in a digital calendar, you never erase, you just move things around, right? You can just shift something around. Those time blocks are incredibly important. And making an appointment for one of those top 20% activities like lead generation or lead follow-up has to happen in your business for you to get where you need to go. So if something's come in between you and one of those top 20% activities, make sure that you are following that mantra. If you erase, you must replace. Not sure what happened there. There we go. And then remember to keep your energy, right? For your focus. Now, here is Gary's energy plan. This is the MREA energy plan. And so it appears on page 308. And I'm going to pull it up so I can read what Gary actually says here. But here's the deal with energy, right? Gary says that, and let me see where I have that. And I plan and calendar my day for my energy and spend my first most energized hours in the office working hard on lead generation and business energy. I never slack off before 11 a.m. This is our most important energy of the day. And so this is what his day looks like. And he starts every day by 6 a.m., right? He meditates and prays for spiritual energy. He then moves on to healthy food and exercise to have his physical energy for the day, spends time with his family, hug, kiss, and laugh for your emotional energy. Plan and calendar, that brings you your mental energy, and then go do the most important things in your business. Go lead generate for your business energy, and do this all before 11 a.m. every day. Now here's the thing, if your day doesn't start by 6 a.m., then modify these times. If it starts at 5, then get your stuff done by noon or by 10. If it starts at 7, get your stuff done by noon, right? But spend those first hours of the day on the things that matter the most to you. Okay, here's a trap that I see us falling into quite often. Particularly for real estate agents who are dual career and they still have a day job and then they're doing real estate at night, right? Where are you spending your very best energy, right? Are you staying up at night to get things done? Are you 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night because you've got to get some things done inside of your business world, as opposed to waking up early so you can get those things done and spend your best energy in the areas in which you want to achieve the best focus, right? So it's a little bit of a mental shift there, but this is, I'll tell you, when I built out my energy plan and started really looking at what does my morning look like, I realized something very, very important. Well, I was skipping some steps, right? I was diving right in. I would wake up and I would eat and I would go to work. And then I would get home and I didn't have any more time for myself, right? And I didn't have any more time for my family. I was whooped. I gave my best energy every day to something that's my third priority in life. Now, my business is important and it's a priority, and I want to give really good energy to it. But my family and my health are far more important than my business is. And so by waking up and kind of going right to work, right, I realized that I was depriving myself of spending my best energy with my family, with my kids, on my health, right? Getting in a workout, going to the gym, being able to focus on my own health. And when I first made that switch and I first changed my morning routine, I felt guilty for it. I felt like I should be grinding. I should be, every waking hour I have, I should be devoting that into my business, right? And I realized that I would just be consistently running on fumes, right? I needed that physical energy. I needed that emotional energy to continuously recharge my batteries so that I was ready to run every day when I did get into the office. So I would highly advise you to take a look at your morning routines. Where are you spending the best energy of your day? And does it include all 5 of these areas? You'll see that on page 308. And that's it, guys. There's a lot more. There is a lot more in this book. There are entire sections that we didn't dive into that can be incredibly beneficial for your business, right? The MREA starts off, right, with the fundamentals of what it is, and talking about different myth understandings, different things that that we misunderstand about being successful in business, and then how to think like a millionaire real estate agent, right? What are some of the ways that they think that they have in common? How do millionaires set goals, right? There's a goal setting section in here, and then we get all the way into netting $1 million and giving $1 million, which is one of the last chapters there. So I encourage you to dive in deeper, take some of those key pages with you, mark them in your books. Dive in after this class to the homework, right? Pull that back up, the 192 tasks of the millionaire real estate agent to become familiar with all of the different things that happen in that world. And let me know what you find, if there's anything surprising for you, or if you're getting ready to grow in your world as well. We'll have that career visioning class followed coming up in the fall, and we'll make sure that you get invited to that. Any questions before we wrap up today? Awesome.
Nope,
You guys
I don't
are
think so.
You guys are amazing. We'll see you next time. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks.
Thank you.